everybody. This is Derek, aka Mr. Everything, and I am coming back at you with some more Harn. What we're doing today is we're continuing on with our character creation tutorial. I'm basically I've got a couple of videos already about how to make a character, and I'm going to reiterate that I am taking my time. I'm going through the process slowly so that you as a viewer can see each step. So this is going to take a lot longer than what it would do on the table, but it gets you an idea of what's expected, what are the die rolls, what are the charts looking like, and how complicated it is, or how easy it is, depending on how you look at it. And then in the future, once we get this character made, then what we'll do is we'll put him to the test in a combat, and then we will show or talk about the various religions in the world. We'll also talk about magic in the world, and basically talk a little bit about my campaign, etc. So I'm fairly new to Harn, so I might get some things wrong as we go, but I'm doing my best to ensure that I'm giving you accurate, up-to-date information. All right, now this would be our third video on making a character. I'm trying to break them down into about 1 hour segments so that it would be bite-sized chunks. The first video, I do believe we did his background and we rolled his stats. And then in the second video, we assigned his professional skills, chose his profession. And now we're going to be moving on to equipment and equipping our character with armor and weapons, etc. I'm using Roll20 to show all of the information on the screen, right? Plus, I am using the PDF Harnmaster 3rd edition, where you can follow along with me. Now, if you had your own copy of Harnmaster hardcover or hard copy, it would be on 3-ring binder, loose leaf pages that you would put in a binder to keep track of your game system. And you would be able to pull sheets out and put sheets in, and you could rearrange them, you could put tabs, whatever. This is not an actual hardback. Not anymore. It hasn't been a hardback in a long time. But as a PDF, I'm pretty much locked in on where everything is located. So you might see me scrolling up and down quite a bit to locate the right information. All right, so we've already assigned skills. Now we're going to talk about equipment and funds. Okay, this part of the book is intentionally vague, right? Harnmaster, okay. Now this is part of the agreement that this video is going to take a while, is because I'm going to interject commentary from time to time. And right now, I want to talk about Harnworld. Harnworld is a campaign setting that was intentional. It was the first product. It was what was made to be compatible with any other game system. So it's generic in a way that it's a world with specifics, but it was left open to interpretation so that you could plug it in, or you could plug any game system that you wanted into the world. And then through development, through progression, they've decided to create a rule system that would marry perfectly with their Harn world, and they call that Harnmaster. And Harnmaster is what we're going to be using in my Harn campaign. Okay, the basic coinage that is used as the default coin is the silver piece, the penny. Uh, and if you look up here, it's marked as a D. Probably has something to do with Latin, but like the denarii or something. So depending on your family class and depending on the richness of your family, is your family poor, average, or rich? Now, there's nothing in the character creation that determines if your family is poor, average, or rich. That is something that the game master has to decide how he wants to do it or how he wants to assign it to the players. It's really left up to interpretation. Uh, Now, because my character here, Knight of Caldor, I haven't named him yet, but the Knight of Caldor here is a noble, right? He's got a social class of noble, so he's going to start right here. Now, I could just go average, make it nothing too out of the ordinary, right? And that says he would have 1,200 denarii. But because he's a noble, when he became a squire, because I made a knight, when he became a squire, his lord, his knight above him, and probably before he became a knight, he would have already owned armor and weapons because it would have been provided to him by his lord. So that when he grew up and he was knighted and became his own knight, he would already have his armor and weapons. And this money that it's showing here is saying that that's how much he would have to spend on his clothing and possessions, not necessarily his weapons and armor. Because nobles are a little bit different. But if you were a farmer or something like that, if you were an ungilded, like a farmer freeman, you would probably have 120 denarii to buy your belongings, right? And that's not a whole lot of silver. It's not denarii; it's pennies, but shillings. Actually, a shilling is 12 pennies, and a pound is 240 pennies. So at 1,200, I felt as the game master of my campaign that that's a reasonable amount. That's perfect. And yes, the players are going to be nobles. They're going to be squires, men at arms, something like that. And they're going to have weapons and armor. But I don't want to make it vanilla where I assign the same amount of armor and weapons to every player, right? So what I've decided to do is to do a variant of the military career income, which we'll show in a minute, where these nobles will get a considerable amount of coins, much more than 1,200, much more than the 2,400. They're going to have a ton of coins, but I'm going to make them buy their own armor and weapons. So it's an equivalent of the value of their possessions, not how many coins they start the game with. So that way, if one player wants to have a scale shirt and another one wants to have a chain shirt and the prices are different, then they can decide if they want to have one or the other. If one guy wants to have a broadsword, but the other guy wants to have a battle axe, they can choose that. And they don't have to be shoehorned into a cookie cutter style, what is given down to you by your liege lord. Okay, so that's the way I plan to do it. Okay, so it talks about the rules talk about the money purse. Like if you have a money purse, put your coins in the money purse. Um, yeah, so 240 silver coins equals approximately it's called a pound, and I'm gonna say it's gonna weigh approximately a pound, just to make it easy on me. As opposed to another game that we play that is 50 coins to a pound. That is thick, heavy coins. These are going to be 240 coins equal a pound, so coins are going to be fairly easy to carry. Uh, okay, and then credentials is something that it's do you have your papers? No, it basically tells everyone who it's your ID card. It basically lets everyone know who you are, where you come from. You know, are you an escaped slave or are you a noble knight? Well, most of the nobles are going to recognize each other's heraldry, but that's not necessarily true. You might be foreign. You might be uh, you might be banished or something. So, but basically, everybody should have credentials on them. And then there are badges that some guilds will issue to prove that you are or to maybe not prove, but to show that you are a member of a guild, like a woodcutters guild or something. Um, yeah. So okay. So that's that. Now, and then we're gonna do with friends and enemies and stuff like that. And then this is the variant that I'm going to be using right here. It's called Veteran Equipment. Um, I thought this was a really good idea and a really good way to make characters have a variable of money. It doesn't, you don't just like roll 3 dice 6 and that's how many silver pieces you have. No, that's not going to be that. It's going to be a set number of income, and then it's going to be multiplied by your willpower. So, like, this character's willpower is 10, so he will have 10% of his earnings for the last however many years. Mainly, and I'm glad that they put that in there as willpower because he basically took the other 90% and blew it. Spent it on food and lodging and women or you know just frivolous things, cleaning costs, horse feed, that kind of stuff. So basically everyday life. So the higher your will, the more of it you would have saved and retained. I think that's really good. Okay, so I came up with, and let's jump down to the professions, which is right there. You have different types of military wages. Now, if it's not military, I wish these were all like together. Okay, if you're just a regular, let's say herald, a herald makes 936 silver a year, right? Um, bring up the calculator. Okay, so what did I say? 936? Okay, if you make 936, you would multiply it by the number of years you spent as a herald. And that's in the career table, normally it's about 4 years. So we go times 4. So that's how much total he would have made over 4 years. But let's say his willpower is a 10. Well, that's pretty easy math. He's going to get times 0.10, right? So he's going to be able to start the game with 374 silver pieces. And then if your DM really wanted to do it, I could say that he also has 2 pfennings, which 2.5 silver is a pfenning. So you're looking at, or 25%, because you get 4 pfennings to 1 silver, right? So, which is, pfennings are also silver, but it's basically a silver piece that's been cut into 4 pieces. There was a, historically, later on, there was, on Earth, in real world, there was something called a piece of 8, which basically means they would take a coin and cut it like a pizza, and you would get 8 pieces, and each of those pieces would be 1/8 of that coin, right? Where and that's where that pieces of 8 came from. Where in this world, they don't cut the pizza in eighths; they cut it in quarters. So it's a quarter. You cut it, into 4 pieces, and then each quarter is called a pfennig. And so if you have 4 of those, that's a silver piece. And because this is so close to 0.5, I would say he has 2 pfennigs. Okay, that's me. But because you're a knight, you're actually using military wages. And see, now right here you've got these years of how long you serve in those careers. Some are 5, some are 1, like a laborer is only 1 year. Some are 7. I don't think there's any 8s. I think they're all 7s or less. But either way, a knight is 7 years. And then, now it could be 8 years if you do the reenlistment under military careers. When you go through your military career, if you want, you can do what's a reenlistment, and that'll give you an additional year of service, and then you can spend additional points to increase your character and stuff like that. I am not gonna do this or allow this in my campaign, because I don't want because they're just going to be starting. They're not going to have veteran status or any of that. But they are going to get military wages, and I'm skipping over booty and bonuses and pensions. We're not going to do any of that. And these military wages, they basically, depending on the type of soldier you are, will determine how much you get per year or even per month. And these months are not set up in a way where it's 30. Even though there's 30 days in a month, they base it on a 24-day month, because they say that you have time off, that you're not getting paid, there's holidays, the weekend, that kind of stuff. Okay, so that amount. Now, I've come up with my own starting wealth. Okay, this is the starting wealth that my players are going to use, right? They're all gonna be young nobles making 280 a month. And then if I take 12 months, and that basically becomes a year, so 3,360 is how much they were earning per year. And years served, because they're a knight, it's going to be 7, or knight, squire, man at arms. It's all falling into the same category, in my opinion. So it's going to be 7 years that they serve. Now I can adjust that up and down because they're, I can tweak the table to fit my campaign a little bit better. But I think 7 years is pretty good because if everybody starts at 14, 7 makes them 21. And I think that's a good starting point in the campaign. Uh, but I might make it 4, and that makes everybody 18, and they would still be inside that 7 year period of training. So they might be a squire to a knight, and they're not maybe they haven't come to the conclusion of their service. So I don't know. I'm gonna still tweak with it, but if we go with hard numbers, the 7 is how many years a knight would serve. So I'm gonna take that 3,360 multiplied by 7, and I get 23,520. Right now, that's how much they would make in a 7 year career. But then to say how much have you been able to save or, retain as wealth and equipment, you multiply it by your will. So a character with a will of 14 would equal 3,292.8, or 392 silver and 3 pfennigs. So now, why are pfennigs important? Because everything's done in silver. Because there are some things that are in pfennigs, very few, but there are some, and your character might want to have a couple of pfennigs just on his person. So let's go to equipment or inventory, right? And then it has money on person, money in bank, money in your group. And you can put a little comment or what bank or what group. And then I don't know what these letters are and what this all means, but we're going to go farthing 3 and penny a lot, right? 32.92. Okay. Okay, so if the character just started with no equipment, no clothes, nothing, that's what he would have. Okay, so now there should be a page with weapons and armor. It would be a good place to start. Right, weapons and armor right there. Great place to start. And that's what we're going to be working on today. Okay, so if you look at this avatar right here, this little, what do they call it, rag doll? No, paper doll. You can see each one of these little areas that are outlined is a strike zone. It is a hit location, right? You have skull, face, neck, shoulders, upper arm, elbow, lower arm, hand. You have thorax, abdomen, groin, hips, thighs, knees, calves, and feet. And you're like, wow, that's a million different hit locations. Well, guess what? If I've got a shirt on that covers my chest and abdomen, and you hit me in the hip, I have no armor. So that is pretty cool. I like the fact that it gets kind of detailed like that. Okay, so let's. Now, normally I would take all this money and I would put it off to somewhere else and have them spend it. But because this is an NPC and not a player, I'm going to just put on him what I want him to have, right? But, and you'll see that they have a price right here. So you buy your armor and your weapons and stuff like that. Okay, so right here, let's start with armor since that's where we're at. The armor line is empty, right? So we're going to add a line for every piece of armor that we purchase. Okay, and I like to start at the top. So I'm going to have, I'm going to buy a, well, the picture here shows, what does it show? It kind of shows a half helm, right? Yeah. Nope, actually that shows the, yeah, that's a half helm, which is only the skull. Okay, and I want to stick with this look. So if it was a 3/4 helm, that would be a helmet that has some kind of face guard, and there are helmets. There's a lot of helmets like that. And then if you had a full helm, that would have like a great helm. You'd have your head. It would go down very low, where it would actually almost rest on your shoulder, so it protects your neck. And of course, it would be like a closed face. So I'm going with just the half helm. So now I could spell it out half helm, but that's what I want to do. Half helm. Okay. What else am I going to be wearing? Well, it looks like he has a chain cowl, right? So chain cowl. A cowl and a coif, pretty much the same thing. Okay, so he's going to have a male cowl. Under that cowl, he's going to have a quilted cowl or a quilted cap. A cap is just the skull. A cowl is the padding all the way down over his neck. I'm going to say yes. Okay. So we're going to go with a quilt cowl. You notice how I just bought 3 things for the head. Okay. Let's keep going. Okay, so now that's the head and neck. Now we're going to go with the body. Looks like he has a chain hauberk. Okay, a chain hauberk. Yep, right there. It looks like he has you know what? I got a picture, a better picture. I'm going to pull it up. Okay, that chain leggings and kneecaps. Now you can see he does not have mittens for his arms. But the hauberk will cover his forearm, elbow, upper arm. Yeah, just like that. Okay, perfect. So he's got a chain hauberk. He's going to have a gambazon. which is basically a padded jacket that you wear under the chain so it doesn't rub, but it also protects you. Now, under the leggings, he has chain leggings. But we noticed that he had a plate kneecaps. Right, and I didn't see any plate on his elbows or anywhere else. It's all just chain. Okay. Yeah, that's his only plate actually, is the kneecaps. He's now you could say, or you need to know the difference between a Bernie and a hauberk. A Bernie is very much like a short jacket. It's it it does cover the hips and groin, but not the legs. Where a hauberk covers the hip and groin and the thighs. So hauberk is a longer chain shirt, and a Bernie is a short one. They also make vests, which is just the shoulders, thorax, and abdomen. um, Actually, that would be scale, but okay, no mittens. He has leggings. No other armor. Okay, Kerbol or Kerburl is a cured and boiled leather. So they just call it Kerbul, which is a shortened way to say cured and boiled. Okay, so we got the armor. And I'm going to hit E because this lets the character sheet know that it is equipped. And why is that important? Well, the weight it will be added towards my encumbrance, which is awesome. But the character sheet needs to know what the weights are. So half helm, 3.2. Chain, okay, we're up here. Mail, actually, but I call it chain. Cowl, 4. Quilt cowl, 2.4. Think of that. That right there is on your head. You've got almost 10 pounds. Well, you got maybe more. 7, 8, 9.8 pounds on your head. Pretty heavy, right? Okay, chain hauberk, 32.5 pounds. That's just for the chain hauberk. A gambesson is quilted and it is 19.5. So a gambesson is no joke, right? It is 19.5 worth of quilted padding for your body. I'm sure it is like a burlap canvas style fabric stuffed with horsehair, right? To make it thick quilt. Okay, and then I've got male leggings, right? Chain leggings or male leggings, which is also 22 pounds. And then plate kneecaps, which are 2.4 pounds for a set. Okay, that's what this -2 is telling you, that you get a set. All right, so I'm going to leave the armor quality at 0. Armor quality is great when, as a game master or as a campaign, if you are using like weapon and armor damage, where the weapon and armor actually can be damaged and destroyed, then armor quality would be good to help resist that. plus armor quality is good if you have like a master craftsman make your armor. It would improve your armor quality. Same thing with weapon quality. Um, and it goes up to +4, I do believe, is the system. Okay, so now I'm going to go up a page. Okay, maybe not. Maybe it's down a page. Yep, down a page. We have the armor protection values right here. And that is the B, E, P, and F. That's blunt force trauma. That's edges, like slashing. And then P is puncture or piercing. And F is fire and frost. Right. So, do I have anything on here that's cloth? I don't. Should I? Yes, I should actually. Let's go back up a page. I totally forgot my surcoat. Well, he's not wearing a surcoat. Okay, he doesn't have a surcoat. So what I'm going to give him is a tunic, which I'm sure he's wearing under his 4.4. Okay. I'm sure it is under his gambazine. Okay. Perfect. So let's go down a page. Okay, cloth is 1 on blunt, edge, point, and fire. So I will go 1, 1, 1, and 1. There we go. And nothing else is cloth, so I don't need to do that. Now I have quite a few things that are quilt. So that is 5, 3, 2, 4. Anything that's a quilt, I'm going to put a 5, a 3, a 2, and a 4. So that tells you that quilts are really good against bludgeoning and fire and frost, but not really that good against puncturing. Okay, any other quilts? Yes, my gambazine is a quilt. So that is the same. 5, 3, 2, and 4. And I think that's the only things that are quilted. I don't have any leather or ring, but I do have mail. I've got 2, 8, 5, and 1 on anything that is mail. 2, 8, 5, 1. Chain, okay. 2, 8, 5, and 1. And the chain cowl again. 2, 8, 5, 1. Okay, so that should tell you right there that chain is extremely good against edge weapons and a little bit about puncture weapons, but horrible against blunt and fire and frost. Okay, and I have I have 2 things that are plate, the half helm and the knee cops. And plate is 6, 10, 6, 2. 6, 10, 6, 2. 6, 10, 6, 2. Okay. So that's all my and that should tell you that edges and basically plate's good against everything except fire, right? So you got 10 against edge, but then you got pretty good 6 against blunt and piercing. Okay, so we go up a page. We're still working on putting the armor on the character. Now, again, when you're making a character, that's where all the time comes in, because when you start actually playing the game and you're role playing and you're traveling and doing all this stuff, you won't have to be doing any of this math because it's already been done ahead. Also, like if you change out some armor, like you take a coif off and you could just uncheck it. There you go. And then if you replace it with something else, then you could just change that one item and you're not having to worry about doing the entire character all over again, right? Okay. So now here's something I find to be not well. This is the next step, and I think it's really good. So a helm, as we've learned, it only covers the skull, right? Half helm, skull, SK. That's all it covers. Let's look at kneecaps. They only cover the knee. So we go plate kneecaps. We come all the way over here to wherever knee is located. Should be on the legs. Okay, so it only covers that. So you got foot, calf, knee, thigh, groin, hip, abdomen, thorax, and then and you can kind of see it's a little bit color coded. And then you're talking about the upper. You're talking about the arms. That's your chest. This is your arms. This is your head. This is your legs. Okay. Let's go with chain cowl, right? So skull and neck. Neck, skull. Quilt cowl. I think it's the same thing. Skull, neck. Chain hauberk pretty much covers almost everything. So we can start at shoulder, upper arm, elbow, forearm, right? Not the head. Shoulder, upper arm, elbow, forearm, not the hand. And then if you look at, then it goes thorax, abdomen, hip, groin, thigh. Thorax, abdomen, hip, groin, thigh. So far, so good? Okay, the gambesson, quilted, forearm, elbow, upper arm. Okay. Forearm, elbow, upper arm. Not the shoulder. No, it is the shoulder. The next one is the shoulder. And then thorax, abdomen, hip, groin, thigh. So it's pretty much the same as the chain hauberk, which is great because it's padding for. Whoops, and I put it in the wrong put. I put it on our chain leggings. Okay, we'll get that squared away. Perfect. Now let's go to tunic because I'm right there. Tunic covers the upper arm and the shoulders. Shoulders, upper arms. And then the chest and abdomen, hip and groin. Right, so it doesn't cover the thigh and it also doesn't cover the hand or the forearms. So it's like a short sleeve shirt. Think of it like that. Okay, so chain leggings is the last one we need to do. It starts at the hip, which you would expect. Hip, groin, thigh, you would expect. Knee, calf, and foot. Knee, calf, and foot. Okay, so he's got chain all the way over, and you'll. Okay, this is a point I want to make. When you're looking at plate armor, remember that Harn is not the Renaissance. It's not late Middle Ages. It's the feudal age, the Dark Age, the 1300s. So there's no full plate articulated limbs. You don't have full plate arms. You don't have full plate mitten gauntlets. You don't have full plate legs or full plate sabaton feet. You don't have pauldrons. Actually, you do have pauldrons. They are called aliettes, but they're basically just either a plate that's straight, flat, or curved. But it's not articulated. It's just a plate, and it's attached to either your gambeson through leather strings or whatever, right? Okay, so you will see a breastplate and a backplate. So yes, you can have a breastplate like a Roman breastplate or a Greek breastplate and backplate kind of deal, but you're not going to see any articulation in it. It's not going to be multiple parts that have like um, hinges, right? So like on your arms, you're not going to see like a plate vambrace and a plate upper arm and then have a plate articulated elbow so that when you move, it rotates on the articulations. That's not Harn. That's not this era. That type of technology didn't come out until later. I'm thinking like the 1400s maybe, where what armor smiths started to make full plate armor. There's no full plate armor. That's what I'm trying to get at. Okay, so we've got the armor all set up. We got the weights. We got the armor values. Perfect. So now, if I was to go to my character sheet, because remember, this is still inventory. If I go to my character sheet and I scroll down to my combat values, if you look over here, you see all these numbers. So, like on my skull, I've got multiple items, right? I don't have to put anything here, but I have a quilted pad coil, cowl, and then I've got a chain coif, and then I've got a helmet, right? So my skull is very protected. It has an edge protection of 21. Why? They just add them all together. You just layer it up, it adds all together. But my face is exposed, so I have 0 armor there. And then if you look and you go all the way down, like my hip and groin area and my thighs, they've got quite a bit of armor. That's the gambesson, the tunic, the hauberk, and then the hip and groin also has the chain leggings because you got the chain underneath, and then you got the. Okay, so I probably should have, to be honest, went with a quilt leggings as well, and that would, because now, according to what I've got on here right now, that chain is rubbing against my flesh, and that's not cool. So let's go with quilt leggings. I'm gonna go back to inventory. I'm gonna add quilt leggings, and I think it kind of showed that in the artwork as well. So it's 9.2 on the weight, and we already know that quilt is a 5324. So we go 5, 3, 2, and 4. And it's probably going to be the same as the other leggings. I'm just guessing. Look over there, quilt leggings. It starts at hip and groin and goes to, yeah, everything. Knee, calf, and foot. Thigh, knee, calf, foot. Okay, perfect. So now this guy's got all of his armor. Let's go back to the character. And if we scroll down, we're going to see that those numbers just changed a little bit because of his additional quilted padding. I've got some protection here. I've got some. So when you, in combat, I'm going to jump. I'll go over this in probably the next video. We're going to have a little explanation of combat. But basically, when you attack, you have a hit location and you compare your damage versus their armor in that specific hit location. So if I hit somebody in the hand, he has no armor there. But if I hit him in the hip, it matters how I hit him. Did I bash him with a mace? Did I hit him with the edge of a sword? Did I thrust a spear into him? Depending on the weapon I'm using, it'll do different types of damage, and that's what you compare it to. So far, so good? Good. Now, I have some encumbrance here because of the weight that I've added, right? My total weight is almost 100 pounds of armor, right? It's 99.6 pounds of armor. Okay, that's good. Now let's talk about weapons. Weapons are done very similarly, but there is a little bit of a difference. How do you like that? Similar but different. Okay. Trying to find the weapon chart, which is right there. Okay. I knew that. Okay, go back to inventory because, okay, now you notice where it says carried melee weapons, right? Well, I only have a punch and a kick because I haven't added any weapons. So we go to our inventory and this area right here, melee weapons and missile weapons. We're going to add some melee weapons in here. The first one I'm going to add is a kite shield. Okay, so far so good. Kite shield. Shields are right here. Okay, so if I look at kite shield, this little icon there tells me that it's a chivalric weapon, which means only the chivalry / nobles and knights can use that. Otherwise, penalty of death, right? So I don't care about any of the skills or any of that because we're already beyond that. We're in equipping the guy. So we go to weight is 5. Why is that important? Well, it adds to your encumbrance if you equip it, which I'm going to. Weapon quality is exactly the same thing. Its weapons are rated in quality. And then wait, am I looking at the wrong thing? I am looking at the wrong thing. Look at that. That's the knight shield. This is the kite shield. It's 7 pounds. And I'm going to give it its weapons quality that it says it's supposed to have, which is 14. And then you have AD, which is attack and defense modifier, right? So a kite shield has a 5 attack modifier. That's if you decide to shield bash somebody. And then the defense modifier is 25. That is what you use when someone attacks you and you decide to use a block, like I'm going to block with my shield. Well, guess what? You get a plus 25 to do that. That's pretty good. Now, HM is a hand modifier that almost always, from what I tell, it only applies to two-handed weapons that are being used one-handed, right? So a kite shield is not a two-handed weapon, so you have a dash. Now it has a armor value of 3. So you got blunt, edge, and piercing. These are not armor values. These are weapon. Remember, I'm in the weapon table. So this is, I'm going to go ahead and put 3 on piercing as well. What that is telling me is if I shield bash someone, I do plus 3 damage. If I can hit him with the flat, or I can hit him with the edge, because that's what the piercing would be like, just hitting him with the edge. I would think it would be edge and not pierce. Oh, no. Okay, let me back up. Edge would be hitting it with the edge, but this has a 0 modifier for edge. Piercing is for certain shields that have spikes. Like if you shield bash them, you get a, and that's why it's in parentheses. It's saying it's kind of an optional thing. They might have spikes, and I bash you, it would be piercing and not bludgeoning. Okay, and that's all you need. It's really not complicated to fill out a weapon. You just go weight, weapon quality if you want to worry about it. I'm not really going to be worrying about that in my campaign. Then we got attack and defense, hand modifier, and then your the damage that it does if you attack with it, right? Okay, what other weapon is my hero going to be using? Well, it looks like he's got a broadsword in his hand. So, um, if you come down to swords, which you can look at the skill categories, here's the swords. It's not a long knife, it's not a short sword, it's not a mankar, which is a Gargan weapon, which is an orc, and it's not a mang, which is an orc weapon. It's either a broadsword, an estoc, a falchion, a bastard sword, or a battle sword. And you'll notice that there are no great swords. Well, that's because they call great swords battle swords, because you only use a great sword when you're going into battle. You don't use it in a well, you might use it in a tournament, just depending on if the tournament is specifically great swords or what have you. Now, I know I have skill in bastard sword, right? Which also means he specializes in bastard sword, but it also means he can use regular swords as well. Uh, but I'm going to give him bastard sword. Okay. Bastard sword, right? Okay. So I'm going to equip it, and I'm going to come over here to bastard sword, and I'm going to look at 5 pounds, 12 weapon quality, that's base. And then, yes, you can block with a sword. So it's 20 and 10. So if I attack with it, I get a 20, which is awesome. And defense, I get a 10. It will have a hand modifier of minus 10. Minus 10. Because a bastard sword is actually an extremely large sword, but not as big as a great sword. But you can use it one-handed, or you can grab the hilt and use it two-handed. So if you don't use it two-handed, you get a minus 10 because it's extra heavy. And then it has a 474. Now you'll notice that I don't think any of these weapons here have a flame or frost attack. First of all, they're not magic. And second of all, that's pretty much reserved for magic. So they don't have flame or frost. Now, the mastery level, you have to bring that over from your character sheet. So let's go kite shield and bastard sword for my character sheet. Kite shield is 70, bastard sword is 54. Okay, so those are the skills that I have. Now, AML and DML is your mastery level, but it's your attacking mastery level and your defending mastery level. And you notice the numbers are different because the numbers over here are different. Now, if I want to put a note, I definitely can put a note. But those are the only weapons I'm going to put on here. But that's how you do it. You put like polearm or bow, you would want to put under missile weapons because they have ranges and stuff like that. They have short, medium, long, and extreme range modifiers based on the weapon. Here we go, bow, like short bow. Okay, maybe that's under missile combat. It might be, it's under the combat. Here's your ranges for your missile weapons. So if you got a short bow, it's short is 20 and the piercing is 6, and then it goes 40 at 5. So your damage drops off the further you shoot your bow. Yeah, right. We're not giving him a bow, just a bastard sword and a kite shield. So now when we go back to our character sheet, we scroll down here. Now you see there's additional weapons under my my carried melee weapons, right? So I've got my kite shield and my bastard sword. And you got all these little buttons to press. And so if I attack with my bastard sword, I would just click this attack roll. And if I wanted to block with my bastard sword, I would press the block button. Now, if I'm attacking with the hand modifier, I would hit this button right there. And then weapon quality is for to determine if it breaks or whatever. But yeah, pretty much not ever going to use that. Okay, that should adjust my total weight. It does, because I've just added a couple extra pounds, right? So we got 12 pounds of weapons and almost 100 pounds of armor. Gives me a total of 111.6. And that changes my encumbrance to 11, right? It was 10. By adding the weapons, it puts it at 11. So just to kind of give you an example, let's go ahead and attack with the bastard sword, right? Nope. Let's say we're attacking with the bastard sword one-handed, so I got to use the hand modifier. Any other modifiers? There might be modifiers for like slippery or nighttime, you're fighting in the rain, you're blinded, but usually, almost always, there's going to be a 0 modifier. So we go ahead and submit that. And it gives you what kind of a roll I had over here. Now, my mastery level was 74. Okay. I had to try to figure out why it was a weird number like 74. And now I remember. My skill is 54, but bastard swords give you a 20 on attack, making my attack mastery level 74. I had a penalty of 65. Okay, so after reviewing my work, just to make sure I was doing this correctly, the encumbrance is your total weight here, right? 111. And you get a penalty for attacking 5 times your encumbrance. And encumbrance is 10%. So it's pretty easy to figure out that 111 becomes an 11 encumbrance, and then a penalty. You're going to get a penalty of 55% when you attack. That's pretty high because I'm carrying so much weight. So that minus 55 is actually applied to a lot of different things, like your initiative and your move is affected by your now I have a move of 1. In combat I can move 1 hex because I'm carrying so much weight. This character has only an 11 strength, which is an average strength, but I've just got way too much weight on me. I'm going to have to lower some weight to improve my combat abilities, right? So let's go to my armors and let's get rid of the quilt leggings. Okay, I'm just doing one thing at a time just to kind of take a look. We go back to the character and you can see I've taken the quilt leggings off, and that's reduced my encumbrance down to 102. So now my penalty will only be 50%. So my initiative, instead of 60, it's now 10. And my move is still 1. Your move should be your agility. right? Okay, I did a little shuffling, a little bit of rearranging because I realized that my character is just not strong enough to carry as much weight as I was putting on him. Um, so what I did was I kind of reevaluated what I was seeing on his picture, right? Plus, I could always just bump up his strength or what have you. But if we go to our inventory, you can see that I took the quilt cowl off. So he doesn't have a quilt on his head. He's not wearing a gambeson, uh, and he is not wearing chain leggings. He still has the quilt leggings and the knee cops. I took his tunic off as well. Basically, I needed to come up with some weight so I basically dropped these, and you can see the chain leggings and the gambeson. That's a lot of weight right there that I got rid of. And so when we come back to the character, you can see that now my encumbrance is, what is that, a 6? And which is now gives my initiative back up to 30, and my move is now a 5. That's super good. So now with a 6, I should be getting a minus 30 to attack. And if I was to attack with my bastard sword with no modifiers, it should come up right there as another marginal failure. But okay, so my mastery level was 63. No, 83, correct. And then there is a penalty of 40. That's 10 for using it one-handed and physical of 30. So that's a minus 40. So my target number to actually roll less than to hit was 43. I rolled a 56. That means it's a marginal failure. And roll 20 gives me this information down here for how much damage I do. If you do not declare it, like if you don't say, I'm going to make sure I thrust and get a piercing style attack, if I don't specifically mention that, then it's always considered to be the best one. So I'm hacking somebody in the edge. But we're going to talk about that in combat. And then with a kite shield, if I was to block with a kite shield, I should still have a penalty, but I don't have a hand penalty, right? So I needed a 75. I rolled a 93. It's still a marginal failure, and then it shows weapon quality. Not that matters at all. It doesn't. It's an all or nothing kind of deal. There's a table, a chart to reference your attacks versus your defenses to see what actually gets through. And that's going to be in the next video. I'm going to be talking about the combat system. But that's a fairly reasonable blocking percentage and a fairly reasonable attacking percentage. You're more likely to get a block in than you are to get the attack in. But I had a huge penalty by carrying all this extra weapons, all this extra armor. So now you can see my numbers are a lot smaller. They're not like 21s anymore, 23s on the legs, right? So they're more like 10s and 8s, more reasonable numbers. I wasn't like this walking tank, and I shouldn't be because my stats are not high enough to accommodate that high of an encumbrance. Okay, well that's basically, making a long story short, that's how you add your equipment to. Now, if I have other things like a knapsack or a tinderbox or something like that, you would just go down here to personal inventory. You would add items. You would give them a weight. And then the C means it is carried. very much like the weapons E for equip. I don't know why they don't use E on everything. That way it's more universal, but for some reason they wanted to do something different. So it's C is carried. Um, Otherwise, it's stored in either your, wherever else it might be. All right, well, that's the end of this video. Thank you for coming out and checking out this video, learning a little bit about how to add the weapons and armor and what the numbers mean, why they're important in specific areas. But that'll become very evident in the next video when I do the combat system. Now, again, we're not doing anything with wizards or clerics. This is just strictly knight on knight action, just to give you the basics of the combat system and how the charts work. And then we'll progress further and further along as more advanced as we get into deeper into this game. One more thing. If you're interested in miniature painting services, check out my eBay store. It's Wargaming in Miniature. You can find painted fantasy figures. You can also find new in the box fantasy figures that you could use in your Harn games. Or you could look for World War II or Napoleonics or whatever you're interested in. Check out my eBay store where I have a lot of painted models that I've painted personally and also new in the box. If you have a model that you need painted, contact me. I would be glad to paint it on commission, and I'll quote you a price, and you'll either accept or decline, whatever you want. All right, well, that's it, and I will catch you in the next video.